everyone, I'm Silver. It is Monday, July 27th. I just wanted to say a quick hello to any new viewers and an awesome welcome back to all my returning viewers. If you did tune in last time and decided to come back, I really do appreciate it. I have to say I am so sorry for skipping this long. Let's just put it this way, drama has ensued in the back end of things. And yeah, let's just say we need to have the show going back on. I think that's the phrase, right? Anyway, and to be completely fair, I honestly did not think I had anything to talk to you about, as my crafty mojo has been sporadic at best over the past 10 days or so. But it's not the case. I do have a lot to talk to you about, so I should probably get started, right? So please just grab your drink of choice, your crafting, and away we go. Today is actually kind of a late day for me anyway, so I'm gonna end up drinking a nice cup of coffee. French vanilla coffee, some generic, I guess, through Big Y, but anyway, let me just take a sip and we'll get started. In this episode, I do have FOs, or finished objects, WIPs, or works in progress, X's and O's, where I talk about anything that's not knitting and crochet, Radio GaGa, Silver's book pile, Silver in the case of the screen time, and the end of the road. Alright, with that, I'm going to get started. Okay, let's move on to FOs. I'm actually going to be noting all the yardage that I had when I finished each object in this section. To those counting as I go through the section, I really do apologize ahead of time. I'm also going to be putting all the yardage in the pictures with the project name, as well as the item or who the pattern that it belongs to, so that you know. All right, the first thing I'm going to talk about is what I called my Scrappy Happy Blanket Take 2. These are 11 round blanket squares, all sorts of different dyers, and everyone who's wonderful yarn I used, I actually will be listing them directly on my Rav page, so you know. I actually honestly don't remember all of them, sorry. If I can, I will be putting it in a list there on the project page. All these squares I've actually been using a G hook, which is a 4.25 millimeter. I have actually gotten to the next 12 square milestone and then some. To specify, I've actually finished all the squares that I was originally planning on finishing during Stash Dash at the beginning of the month, at the beginning of the long. However, I may do more. You never know. It's actually why I'm including these two groupings in my yardage count this week. And with all of the squares that I did, I actually also included a larger square, which was about 2 squares worth of yarn. So that means I did add a total of 1,840 yards to my Stash Dash total. Now, to remind you, Stashes is actually an along through the Knit Girls podcast, where they're going through and you get to challenge yourself as to how much meterage that you're actually going to enter and finish throughout the course of the month. It's a 3-month process. It's great. It's fun. We're getting there, guys. We're just under a month now until it's almost over. So I'm going to be hitting into full gear, as evidenced by the rest of the fact that there are lots more FOs. So let's move on to the next thing that I managed to finish this past month, since the last time we talked, was what I called Ripples on the Water. Now, this did get me 536 yards. The pattern on this one was the Ripple Bralette by Jessie Maud Designs. And I did use multiple sock blank scraps from previous projects that I've done. All of the yarn that I did use, I will go ahead and put on my project page as well. With this project, I did use a size US 2, which is a 2.75 millimeter for the bottom ribbing, and size 4 needles, which is a 3.5 millimeter for the rest of the top. Because yeah, I made it long enough to kind of go over my belly a bit instead of just being a bralette, because that's what I'm more comfortable with, to be completely honest. The next thing that I did finish was what I called Blanky 2.0. This did net me 1,660 yards for Stash Dash. The pattern I used on this one was the Fuss Free Baby Blanket by Louise Tilbrook. And I used Patton's Croy scraps. All of them will actually be listed directly on my project page if you so choose to go over to that and see them all. See, oh, and I did use a size 4, which is a 3.5 Chigu red lace 40-inch cable for a majority of actually for all of the blanket. The next thing I finished was what I called July's All About That Sparkle with a winky face. I did get 271.6 yards for this item. I used the Simple Skip Socks by Adrian Koo. I've been meaning to do this pattern for so long. I love the way that the pinks and the yellows and the tan fit with that pattern so well. I absolutely loved working on it. I ended up using Desert Vista Dye Works, their gold sparkle sock in the rose champagne colorway. This was basically one of my prizes that I won for doing the whole 12-month of socks in the DVD cal. So you know, I don't know if she's planning on releasing that to the general public. Sorry. Let's see. Oh, and I used the size US 1, which is a 2.25 millimeter on 9-inch circulars. And now, since I didn't end up showing, well, since this is actually the first time you're going to be seeing these socks, I'll let you know, I did have them in my stained glass Beauty and the Beast bag by Molly Klein Designs. The next thing that I did finish was what I called Stick in the Mud Fix It. I did get 155.3 yards for this item. This was a sockhead slouch hat by Kelly McClure, and I used Blue Moon Fiber Arts socks that rock lightweight in the Candy Cane Tipsy colorway. Absolutely love the way this came out. This is for a Quidditch project, actually, for the House Cup, the Harry Potter House Cup podcast group. Not podcast group, but Ravelry group. There we go. That's the word. Yeah, sorry, I'm forgetting words today. Anyway, I did use a size US 3, which is 3.25 millimeter. And this project, while I was working on it, was housed in my Haunted Mansion bag by the Knitted Broomstick. The last thing that I did finish was what I called Scrappy Happy DVD. This did net me 4,449 yards for Stash Stash. The pattern on this one was Granny Stripes by Lucy of Attic 24. And I did use various amounts of DVD scraps. Some of them are the prizes that I won through the cal when I was knitting along, and most of them are actually the colorways that I had in socks. So it's 20 different colorways in that one blanket. The full list of them can actually be found directly on that project page, and I will go ahead and I will link that down below in the show notes as well. For this blanket, I did use a G-hook, which is a 4.25 millimeter. Now, with those yardages, I do have a total of 20,589.7 yards, which is equal to 18,827.2 meters, you guys. Oh, I can't believe I am there. That is actually more than I even thought I would have at this point in the along, so yay. That reminds me, I do still need to put that up in the 15K thread. So yes, this will serve as my reminder. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next segment. Let's move on to works in progress. I do only have one project currently on the needles as we speak. It is a new work in progress since the last time we talked. Once I finished the last Desert Vista Dye Works blanket, I decided to create a new one that I am calling DVD Love Less Than 3. It is again the Granny Stripes pattern by Lucy of Attic 24. And I again will be using various Desert Vista Dye Works scraps as we have probably, as you probably remember, I have been doing the cal for now 3, almost 4 years now. Oh, no, next year will be the 4th year. Yes, I am doing a 4th year. Anyway, I digress. The full list of all the Desert Vista scraps that I'm going to use, I'm going to try to be better about telling you which ones I've gotten to. I'm actually looking at the blanket as we speak. I have gotten through the colorways Babushka, which is the one down at the bottom. The next one was Poodle Skirt. Then there was a birthday something or other. It was obviously the one that I did during my birthday month. And then the other one that is in the blanket right now is Oh Clark, which I believe was technically a Christmas holiday time frame colorway. But I ended up using it just as a July 4th of July type color, because it kind of does have the red, white, and blue essentially in it. But like I said, I'm getting wildly distracted by it. It's fine. I'm just looking where my marker is because I did start a little bit more this morning. And then after that, I did start a colorway called Clue, which is another one of my favorites as well. Okay, this is I am again using a size G hook, which is a 4.25 millimeter crochet hook. I believe, hold on, I can look at it right now. It's a Boyle. How do you pronounce it? Yeah, Boy. That's it. BOYE crochet hook I've had for years. Anyway, this is actually being housed in my zombie pinup bag by the Knitted Broomstick. Oh, love this bag, you guys, and I love that it fits in so well with the Desert Vista scraps that I've been using recently. A lot of them have the zombie decomp in it, which is so cool. Anyway, before I go off any further tangents, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next segment. Let's talk X's and O's. I have actually worked on 2 different cross stitch projects since the last time we talked. It's part of the reason why I get a little bit distracted and did not want to come and record, so sorry about that. Anyway, the first one, I actually finished the You Had Me at Aloha pattern by Stitch Area. I actually did finish it this week. Sorry to those that follow me on social media. The recipient of this cross stitch follows me on one of my social platforms, so I had to kind of downplay what I was working on and who it was for. Plus the fact that I didn't think I actually did as much as I thought I did this week, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, the second one that I mentioned, I am actually making the Super Mario pattern by Stitch Arena. I love this pattern so far. I actually picked this one out for MTI as he really likes this one. I started this one, I would say about 2 weeks ago at this point. What you see is actually how much I finished in a few days time. I had to put it down for other things, but you've seen that in my FOs. Anyway, I will go ahead and link Stitch Area's Etsy shop below and in the show notes. That way, if you would like to go ahead and see her wonderful patterns, I would highly recommend it. They are well put out and they tell you exactly where the center is. So if you don't like to use your rulers to like set it up and all, there's so many different ways of doing cross stitch now that I don't know, but I always am one to start in the center and go out from there. So I appreciated the way that Stitch Arena put all of her patterns together, or all of their patterns. I don't know genders, so I should stop doing that. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next segment. Radio GaGa. I have been listening to a fair bit of music since the last time we talked. A lot of random CDs, my collections of different songs that I put together for road trips. I've also been listening to 80s and 90s music channels on Comcast, just to kind of mix it up a little bit, I guess. And anyway, I also have been listening to a bunch of podcasts, and that includes And That's Why We Drink, Martinis and Murder, Wine and Crime, My Favorite Murder, and The Murder Squad, which is Jensen and Holes. Oh, I love those podcasts. I still have a few more that I want to try to catch up on this week. I'm crossing my fingers that I get them all done, and they should be joining our list, so yay. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next segment. Silver's book pile. Okay, y'all. I'm going to admit a lot of my time, especially the past week and a half or so, has actually gone into reading a bunch of books. In fact, I have a total of 22 finished books since the last time we talked. We ready for this? There's a lot of different series that I read too. So the first book that I read was At Any Price by Brianna Albright. I also read The Billionaire Stepbrother by Emma Lee. The Vampire Who Loved Me by Teresa Medeiros. Also, The Darling Songbirds. Also, The Darling Songbirds, The Songbirds Call, and The Songbird Sisters, all by Rachel Herron, is all a series. The next book I read was Full Package by Lauren Blakely. I also read Unnatural Lover by Mac Flynn, Temptation Road by Kemba Lee. Also have If the Shoe Fits by Lori McLeod. I also read If the Shoe Fits by Laurie LeClaire. I also read Playing to Win by Macy Monroe. Also read The Ghost in the Graveyard by Genevieve Jack. The Billionaire Wins the Game by Melody Ann. And then there was a series that's called the Return to Cupid Texas series. I read all of them, all 10 books. So that includes Cupid Stupid, Cupid Scores, Cupid's Dance, Cupid Help Me, Cupid Cures, Cupid's Heart, then Cupid Santa, Cupid Second Chance, and Cupid Charmer, which I literally just finished this morning. All of those, of course, are by Sylvia McDaniel. I absolutely loved that series, you guys. And most of those, except for 3, Cupid Santa, Cupid Second Chance, and Cupid Charmer, were actually, the rest of them were all rereads for me. Okay. Yes, I know that was quite a few books that I have finished. I just realized how much. Anyway, I am actually currently reading a book by Nancy Warren called The Vampire Knitting Club. I love it. I'm also reading the physical book of To Have and to Hold by Fern Michaels. That's why it's taking so long. Anything paperback or any physical book now, I can't read when the husband is actually asleep. So a lot of those other books were on Kindle. So anyway, I am also been reading New Moon by Stephanie Meyer, and I'm actually reading this along with the Hot and Bothered podcast. They have 3 more chapters to completely finish the book this week, and hopefully I will be caught up to them by then, but I'm crossing my fingers, because again, that's another podcast I have yet to binge list and finish up. So let's see. Oh, and I'm also reading Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows again, along with Harry Potter and the Sacred Text podcast. So I have a few more chapters to catch up to them on, because yeah, it's been a bit for me to catch up on podcasts, I guess, recently, huh? Anyway, I am going to go ahead and finish the rest of this coffee before it gets too late, and then we'll move on to the next segment. Silver and the Case of the Screen Time. I have been watching a fair bit of TV, but I have to be honest, most of it was YouTube videos, but that's a different story altogether. In terms of TV, I have been watching I'll Be Gone in the Dark. It's the Michelle McNamara docuseries that's on HBO. Absolutely love it. The final episode is this coming Sunday, so you do have some time to go ahead and binge through if you would like. Trust me, you will love that series. It got me going a little bit today when I watched the episode from last night, but that's another story altogether. Also been watching a Celebrity Watch Party. 1 episode of Supernatural every week with Siska Says, because that's how she's doing it. She's doing 1 episode a week rather. I also have been watching both Stargate SG-1 and Stargate Atlantis kind of concurrently. The reason for this is they have a particular timeline of when Stargate Atlantis started and when Stargate SG-1 was kind of finishing up. So basically, I got as far as watching season 9, episode 10 with Stargate SG-1 and season 2, episode 1 of Stargate Atlantis. I believe the next cut over to Stargate Atlantis is actually in about 6 or 7 episodes. I can't remember the exact progression. I'll have to put that in a title card on as we speak, in case you're wondering. Anyway, so other than TV, I've actually also, like I mentioned before, I have been watching a lot of YouTube videos, but I did happen to catch Camelot 331 as he's been playing through The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and he also has been playing through Majora's Mask. Now, just so you know, the boy has never had a Nintendo system before, so he had never, ever played either one of those games, so he ended up doing pretty good. I actually finished more of the games than I have. Let's be completely honest. Let's see. So much. Anyway, let's see. What was I gonna say? It's a whole mess. All right, and let's talk podcasts. I have actually been watching Stitching the High Notes, Siska Says, The Knit Girls, also GGKCS/FlossTube, which is the previously Geeky Girls podcast. Also, I've been watching True Crime Daily, Knit and Kitten, Dramatic Knits, and the Stockinette Zombies actually put out an episode this past week. So I made sure I watched all of them. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next segment. All right, we have come to the end of the road. I am pretty social. You can actually find me on our Ravelry board, which is Silver's Dreamland Podcast. I am also Silverluna 2112 there on Ravelry. On Facebook, Silver's Dreamland can be found at www.facebook.com/Silver's Dreamland. On Instagram, I am Silver's Treats. And on Twitter, I am at Silver's Knitting. Now, please know, I do tend to read through all messages as soon as I possibly can. If you don't hear from me within 24 hours, please feel free to go ahead and email me directly at silverstreamland@gmail.com. And as always, everything that I do talk about can be found directly in the show notes at www.silverstreamlandpodcast.com. If you haven't done so already, please feel free to subscribe and hit the bell down below. This way others can actually find me in my own little corner of YouTube. And you will also see when I post videos. Okay, I have rambled for long enough. I know your time is valuable, so please feel free to go join in any discussion or start your own on the Silver Streamland Ravelry board. I don't bite, I promise. If you are feeling generous, again, please hit that If you are feeling generous, again, please hit that like button below this video so that others can find my show too. And if you haven't, please subscribe already and stay tuned for episode 94 next week. Until then, happy crafting!